Someone asked me to look at this video put out by Recode, which I think is a branch of Vox or Vice News. I feel bad for mixing that up. Oops. Anyway, someone asked me to react to this clip they did with Gavin Newsom, goofy-ass Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. As you can see, it's from September of this year, just a few days ago. Let's see what goofy-ass Gavin Newsom had to say on this segment of Recode.
And I'm expressing it because I'm in the position you framed, where I feel I can, and I think it's important.
So again, but why you? Why as the governor of California? There's like, what are you messing with that? Like,
I don't know, we're the fifth on the way to be the fourth largest economy in the world.
Fourth largest economy in the world.
California outperformed every other large state in GDP last year, 7.8%, the nation at 5.7%, with all due respect to Texas, 5.6%.
Yeah, look at California's large GDP.
State of California is running its highest surpluses and reserves. I mean, we had $101.4 billion operating surplus this year.
Yeah, California had a $100 billion surplus.
Last year, 76.3. The biggest tax rebates in American history.
So you hear that, $170 billion in surpluses the last 2 years in California. Meanwhile, I think California still has a state debt of like $150 billion. Yeah, don't pay off the debt. Gavin Newsom has some special interest groups to grease, apparently.
$9.4 billion last year, another $9.5 billion this year to 17 million families. This is a state number one in factory jobs, number one in economic growth. We have more venture capital, thank you.
More venture capital
than the next three states combined by 2x. This state, in so many ways, shapes, or form.
Venture capital. I guess California has more venture capital than the next three states combined.
Punch above its weight. And I figure as the governor of the state of California has pride in this state and our values, that I'm in a position to express myself in a way that perhaps a member of Congress cannot.
All right. Keep the venture capitalism point in mind for a second. But notice how central planners, and you see this a lot from the Democrat side, the central planners from the left, they always need to have it both ways. You see this a lot from the Joe Biden administration right now, whenever they talk about gas prices. One day they say, oh, the high gas prices, that's the price we need to pay. It's a sacrifice Americans need to make to save Ukraine from Russia. Or more broadly, it's a price, it's a sacrifice we have to make to save the world from climate change. Ooh! Yeah, the high gas prices, it's a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice we have to make for future generations and the planet. Also, it's actually the fault of greedy oil companies who are just using inflation as an excuse to jack up prices, to squeeze American consumers to make record profits. Also, last week, the gas prices went down a little bit, and it's all thanks to the brilliant economic planning of the Joe Biden administration. They always want to have it all ways. Whenever they can cherry pick some statistics, like the fact that California is like the fourth, fifth, or third largest economy or whatever, highest GDP growth. I think that's another point the Biden administration made, 5.7% GDP growth. After a severe setback in 2020, which is like in a game of football, it'd be like getting sacked for 20 yards and then getting 12 yards on the next play and thinking you've actually made a gain. This budget surplus, it's all thanks to the brilliant economic policies of Democrats like goofy-ass Gavin Newsom. But also when it's convenience, they also need it to be gloom and doom, so that they can justify new regulations, new economic policies, higher taxes. So that's always interesting. They always need to have it both ways. Things are good thanks to their brilliant economic policies. Also, things are really horrible, so we need more economic planet. Secondly, what Gavin Newsom doesn't mention is the fact that a lot of his policies have been reversed, some of which, if they were not reversed, would have been a disaster, notably the AB5 law, if you recall. The rideshare companies like Uber and Lyft, they were planning at one point to shut down operations in California if they did not get an extension until the election in 2020, which they eventually got. And this was like a surprise to California politicians like Lorena Gonzalez, who was in the California state legislature, who was really proud of AB5.
Oh, you absolutely suck!
She was shocked that these companies might shut down operations rather than abide by their stupid fucking economic policies. And if you watch enough of this video, I don't know if we're going to get to it, but at one point Gavin Newsom brags about how in order to save the electrical grid, they decided to prolong a few nuclear reactors at Diablo Canyon, which was only going to get phased out due to his crusade against nuclear power. Not to mention his larger crusade against the fossil fuel industry. So yeah, Gavin Newsom doesn't mention that some of his policies have actually been reversed, which have limited the damage. And three, and I think this is most important, I think California's economy is doing well in spite of policies pursued by the likes of Gavin Newsom. It's thanks to the private sector who manages to prevail and keep chugging along. And all of the people here, the productive people who tolerate the insane cost of living and choose to stay in California despite all of the political madness. But it ignores an alternative where things could be a lot better. It ignores an alternative where California maybe embraces freer markets, embraces capitalism. Imagine, he likes to spike the football. Gavin Newsom likes to spike the football on the impressive size of the economy and the GDP and all of that fun stuff. Imagine how much richer Californians would be if we had more housing, if more construction projects were approved and did not have to jump through all these fucking regulatory hoops and lawsuits pertaining to environmental regulations. Imagine how much richer Californians would be if they had more money, more disposable income that was not going to insanely high housing costs and going toward filling up their gas tank. Imagine how much richer Californians would be with better access to energy sources like fossil fuels and nuclear energy. The California economy would probably be a lot larger. Californians would definitely be a lot richer if California embraced free markets and capitalism. And going back to his point about venture capitalism, let's revisit that really quick.
X. Then the next three, economic growth, we have state number one in factory jobs, number one in economic growth. We have more venture capital. Thank you.
More venture capital.
Then the next three states combined by 2x. This state
by 2x, more than the next three states combined. I would like someone to ask Gavin Newsom why venture capital is such a wonderful thing. Why is venture capital such a wonderful thing? Now, I know why. I think venture capital is a wonderful thing. Don't get me wrong. But I'd like to see someone like Gavin Newsom, a Democrat, one of the hopefuls to succeed jibber-jabbering Joe Biden one day as president of the United States. I would like to see one of these prominent Democrat politicians explain why venture capital is such a wonderful thing. Because I imagine someone like Gavin Newsom might say something like, well, venture capitalists, they often provide the seed money. They often provide the upfront money for new businesses, new technologies. Venture capitalists are the ones who ultimately helped companies like Apple Computers and Google and Uber and Twitter and Facebook and other companies that got their start in California. It was thanks to venture capital that we got these new businesses, these new technologies, these innovative companies that have made the standard of living and the quality of life better for its users and consumers. It's created a lot of new jobs, especially high-paying jobs like software engineers. A lot of those high-paying jobs generate a lot of tax revenue. If you guys think taxes are such a wonderful thing. A lot of these companies create a lot of wealth, which a lot of shareholders, a lot of pension accounts, retirement accounts rely heavily on. A lot of people with retirement accounts and savings accounts probably got rich, probably got a lot of money thanks to the efforts of venture capitalists. The point I'm getting at is this whole notion about venture capital might undermine, it might sound like a sympathizer of trickle-down economics, which Democrats, as we know, are not big fans of. Whenever you bring up trickle-down economics, a lot of people on the left, a lot of Democrats and their cheerleaders, they laugh at you. I think Joe Biden just last week threw some shade talking about how trickle-down economics doesn't work. All right. So again, I would like to see Gavin Newsom explain why venture capital is good. And I would like to see these Democrats be honest about the things that venture capitalists do. And the fact that, when people have a lot more money to invest in new businesses, new technology, that money, that wealth created, it creates a lot of opportunities, creates a lot of wealth that many people ultimately benefit from and enjoy, not just the top 1% or the greedy corporations. Which also undermines his own arguments, his bragging, his spiking the football over this state surplus. All of these, he mentioned what, $100 billion in surplus? Imagine if that $100 billion were still left to the private sector. I imagine a lot of that money came from venture capitalists who might have more money to invest in the new the new technology, the next widget, the next Apple computers, which has been taken out of their hands so that Gavin Newsom can dole it around for all of his wonderful wealth redistribution programs. Anyway.
In so many ways, shapes, or form, could punch above its weight. And I figure as the governor of the state of California has pride in this state and our values.
So venture capital is good. Wouldn't it be a good idea to maybe let people, especially those who are in the business of lending money and providing seed money, wouldn't it be a good idea to let them, I don't know, keep a little bit more of their money?
That I'm in a position to express myself in a way that perhaps a member of Congress cannot.
Can I ask, and I appreciate all those.
And what if the venture capitalists, what if they want to invest in, I don't know, fracking projects? Oops. Maybe invest in a nuclear power plant?
Statistics. Are more people leaving California for Texas or leaving Texas for California?
Well, we lost about 182,000 folks.
Now, this is the point that someone asked me to react to. So Gavin Newsom is being asked about why people might be leaving California.
Can I ask, and I appreciate all those statistics, are more people leaving California for Texas or leaving Texas for California?
Well, we lost about 182,000 folks in the last census.
But how do you explain that against the backdrop of those very remarkable statistics you just cited?
Many factors, and there's been...
Again, this is a problem for a lot of economic planners. They need to spike the football at times, so they can't be too doom and gloom, but they also need to be doom and gloom enough to justify more regulations, more wealth redistribution.
Too deep analysis that drives the number one factor, the vast majority, almost the entire amount, impacted because of the visa policies in the Trump administration.
So right here, Gavin Newsom is blaming the exodus, what's being called as the California exodus, people leaving the state. He's blaming it on the Trump administration's visa policy and its restrictions on immigration, which you guys know, I'm no fan of Trump, especially his immigration policies, but to blame the California exodus on immigration policy is just...
I mean, our formula for success is getting first-round draft choices around the rest of the world. I mean, we're as dumb as we want to be. This whole damn border debate is made up. It's made up. Where's Congress? Where the hell are they? They haven't done their job.
That's a good question, considering that Congress is controlled by the Democrats right now.
Both parties, comprehensive immigration reform. No state has more to lose. More state has more to gain than the state of California, from Silicon Valley to Central Valley on that reform. So it's a combination of those factors. Yes, affordability, we own that.
Yeah.
I'm not naive about our problems, homelessness.
Taxes?
And taxes are lower than California.
Lower than what? Hold on.
Our problems, homelessness.
Taxes?
And taxes are lower than California than they are in Texas.
Oh, right. Yeah. Taxes are lower in California than in Texas. Now, property taxes, absolutely. California is, I think they have some of the lowest property taxes in the nation, although there have been efforts to increase those. But in general, no, I think sales tax and income taxes, California usually ranks amongst the highest in the nation. But I remember reading various articles over the years over the California exodus. Here's one from Fox 26 News. I guess I'm just saying this as Fox News. Citing one instance saying then in 2018, 2 months before making the move, he bought a 41 square foot long home on 4 acres with 500 feet of riverfront for $400,000. The house I owned in California was 2,400 square feet on just a regular lot. That cost me $315,000. My property taxes here are $1,500 a year, which is half of what they were in California. Our property taxes here on 7 acres are about a third of what it was in California, said someone else, I think, said Barbara. The cost of ownership is less because of property taxes and everything else. I guess this is the case in Tennessee. But then they also mentioned stuff like income taxes, gasoline costs. And if you want to just dismiss that as Fox News, I also have an article from the Los Angeles Times from July of this year, written by Summer Lin. California exodus continues. Article says, citing changes in work-life balance, opportunities for remote work, and more people deciding to quit their jobs, the report found that droves of Californians are leaving for states like Texas, Virginia, Washington, and Florida. California lost more than 352,000 residents between April of 2020 and January of 2022, according to the California Department of Finance Statistics. San Francisco and LA rank first and second in the country, respectively, for outbound moves, as cost of living and housing prices continue to balloon and homeowners flee for less expensive cities, according to a report from Redfin released last month. Angelinos in particular are flocking to places like Phoenix, Las Vegas, San Diego, San Antonio, and Dallas. The number of LA residents leaving the city jumped from 33,000 in the second quarter of 2021 to nearly 41,000 in the same span of 2022, according to the report. California has grappled with extremely high housing prices compared with other states, according to USC economics professor Matthew Kahn. Combined with the pandemic and the rise in remote work, privileged households relocated when they had the opportunity. People want to live here, but an unintended consequence of the state's environmentalism is we're not building enough housing in desirable downtown areas, Khan said. That prices out middle-class people to the suburbs and creates long commutes. We don't have road pricing to help the traffic congestion, and these headaches add up. So when you create the possibility of work from home, many of these people, they say enough, and they move to a cheaper metropolitan area. Now, I did find one video from CNBC. I found a video. I remember reacting to this when this was released in January of 2021, what's driving California's mass exodus, and they blamed it on high taxes, high cost of living. But I did find another video from CNBC recently talking about why Californians are fleeing to Mexico. And you might say this might reinforce what Gavin Newsom is talking about in this video, where he tries to throw the Trump administration and the visa policy under the bus for people fleeing back to Mexico, apparently. But as it turns out, a lot of the people that are fleeing to Mexico are Americans. If you watch this video from CNBC, a lot of the people they interview are native-born Americans. People going to Mexico, who are some of which choose to just relocate to Mexico, but still choose to commute by crossing the border every day to come to work in California. Then they drive back to Mexico after they're done at work to go back home where it's much more affordable for the average Californian. Imagine having a state whose policies are so screwed up that people are moving to Mexico to invest there, to buy homes there, to live there where it's far cheaper, and then still commuting to California for work. Anyway, I could not find many statistics or data to talk about this point, but it sounds like Gavin Newsom is totally full of shit here.